There are only a handful of beings in the Marvel Universe who are worthy enough to pick up Mjolnir, Thor's trusty hammer. In the comics, we've seen several individuals who were up to the challenge, including Beta Ray Bill in the Mighty Thor issue 337, the Hulk in 2012's Avengers Assemble issue 4, and Captain America twice in the Mighty Thor issue 390 and Fear Itself issue 7. But what about Thanos? The Mad Titan has the interwebs buzzing ever since Avengers Infinity War came out, and rightfully so, considering the mass amount of power he wields. So today we're exploring the question of whether or not the disfigured Eternal, with all of his might, is capable of lifting Mjolnir, or if the hammer would refuse him the privilege. To start us off, what entails worthiness? Mjolnir was enhanced upon its forging to be able to detect whether an individual is worthy of lifting it and wielding its power. Some have speculated that the hammer is sentient in order to justify this, while others chalk it up to its magical properties. Typically, when it's been picked up in the past aside from Thor's use, the hammer distinguishes worth based on selflessness, especially in the MCU. We see this when Vision lifts it, not as a means to use it for himself, but as a means to get the Avengers hustling to defeat Ultron. This makes sense in that other iconic MCU scene featuring the other Avengers trying to lift Thor's hammer in their downtime, not using it for good, but rather for a laugh. So the act of why you're picking up the hammer indicates whether or not one is worthy, and the personal integrity of that individual's reasoning can arguably negate worthiness as well. For example, Beta Ray Bill. He came into conflict with Thor due to a misunderstanding, and knocked Thor unconscious, who reverted to his Donald Blake form. His reasoning for attacking Thor was not a malicious or power-hungry one. Rather, being the chosen protector of his race, the Corpinites, he truly believed he was in the right. When he knocks Thor unconscious, he lifts up Blake's walking stick, which then turns out to be Mjolnir. Bill gives it back to Thor after Odin, seeing Bill as worthy, gets a new weapon forged for him, Stormbreaker. Then everyone is happy being pals, and that's how the story ends. Now, when Cap lifted the hammer in the past, it was because Thor was out for the count and he had to step in. But here's an interesting point. When the Hulk lifted it in Avengers Assemble issue 4, Thanos had control over the Hulk's mind. Now, to be fair, Thor was still holding onto the hammer when the Hulk got a hold of it, and hit Thor in the face with it. So how does something like that happen? Well, arguably Thor's involvement could have manipulated the situation into being successful, but it could also have just been some bad writing. The comic itself received poor reviews, and the series was known for being really inconsistent around that time. Another interesting case though is when Magneto wielded it in the Ultimates 3 issue 5 back in 2008. After the deaths of his children Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, the character went through a pretty rough emotional time, and stole Mjolnir by manipulating the area around it, using electromagnetism, something he tried in the regular Marvel universe and failed to do. So it's safe to say that depending on the universe, different rules may apply to Mjolnir, and whether or not its worthiness pertains to just holding the hammer or the area around it. So this brings us to our question: can Thanos lift Mjolnir? Thanos on a regular day definitely wouldn't be considered worthy, a regular day being one without the Infinity Gems and the Gauntlet in his possession. The Mad Titan's intentions are entirely selfish, unless you can deem his desire to achieve that perfect balance between living and dead beings for death one that is noble. But that kinda seems like a long shot, especially when you consider how much he revels in having that power, and the fact that he keeps seeking that power out. I mean, look at that smile. You can't say that he's doing it out of the selfless nature of love. There's a reason why Death chose to approach him specifically in the first place. But what about the Infinity Gauntlet fully loaded? Well, consider the gem's powers, specifically the abilities of the Reality Gem. The Reality Gem allows its user to alter reality to whatever they desire it to be, even if that desire is in contradiction with scientific laws. Combined with other gems, the use of the Reality Gem can alter reality on a universal scale. So with power like that, Thanos could easily change Thor's hammer to determine him worthy, or to only regard him as worthy. He could even manipulate the environment around the hammer to use it if he desired to do that rather than altering its magical properties. So where does that leave us? With a yes and a no. If in possession of at least the Reality Gem, Thanos could wield Thor's hammer. If not, he wouldn't be deemed worthy. The exception to this is if Thanos' motives were considered selfless, but that seems highly unlikely to happen anytime soon. Alright, there we have it, friends. Do you think any of the villains in the Marvel Universe are worthy of lifting Mjolnir? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Dug this video? Hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We also have a whole playlist of videos just waiting for you to check them out, including all things Thanos, so be sure to give it a look before you go. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.